Skipta skoðanir mínir einhvern mál.
Mér finnst það svo ótrúlega mikilvægt.
Legðu þitt að mörgum til að gera beðið betri stað.
So we have James Lawrence, aka the Iron Cowboy, and he is a Canadian ultra endurance athlete, mindset and fitness coach, book author, and a keynote speaker. He has broken several Guinness World Records, and his ambitions lies in finding his mental and physical limits. In 2021, he did the impossible. He completed 101 consecutive Ironman triathalons, which contains 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of biking, and 42.2 kilometers of a marathon run. How are you, James?
Well, listening to that, I'm now tired.
was the long intro?
No, just the having to hear that we did 101. We're actually in the last week of the anniversary of doing that, and so it's been fun to rewatch what we've been doing or what we did. So yeah, it was crazy. It was an Ironman a day for a quarter of a year, which everybody said was impossible.
Do you sometimes look back at it and just like, how did I do it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Every single day. But it's fascinating in life because when you make a decision to go do something and you commit 100, 200, 300% to it, it's just what you do and how you operate in that moment. And then you obviously face adversity and struggles. And when you complete it and you're successful, you have an opportunity to pause, reflect, look back on what you did. And in our case, we question or wonder how we did that.
How did you do it?
Yeah, that is a very big question. But I believe it was years of showing up with intent, doing a lot of little things over a long period of time to get us to that moment where we believed we could do it. Because when I first started this journey, I had a goal like everybody else that does triathlon to I just wanted to do one. And then once you do one, you're like, oh, I can maybe go faster on the bike. I can have a better run. I can work on my transitions. Oh, my nutrition wasn't really great. And then we start to evolve as we have experiences. And then fast forward many years down our journey, we believed it was possible to do 100 based on the experiences that we've had up to that moment. And so how did we do it? A decade worth of doing really, really hard things.
So it's about the consistency, not the intensity, and just to add on, just always improve those little things. And then you look back and whoa, all those little things adds up and we did it.
Yeah, sometimes we wonder how we got to this place in life, and both good and bad, right? You can hit rock bottom and all of a sudden go, how did I get here? And it's because of all those little tiny decisions that you made along the way. It wasn't one big moment that got us to that rock bottom. And it's also not one big moment that gets us to the top. It's about those small little moments along the way where we find success, where we find failure, where we learn from those mistakes. And that's what this journey is about. Those little tiny incremental gains. You heard the concept of 1% at a time. You grow 1% over a long period of time, that's significant growth.
Yeah, 35 times better in 1 year.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, yeah. And I think because we always see this version of overnight success, but we don't see the years and the hard work that followed before this success.
There's no such thing as overnight success. It's an overnight headline and overnight someone realizing that you've accomplished something, but you're right. I don't see the multiple decades worth of sacrifice and hard work in order to get to that overnight headline.
Mm-hmm. So I have a few questions for you, and I want to start with fill in the blank. Redefining impossible is?
Okay, so this is different for everybody else. Redefine impossible means figuring out what's hard for you, where you're at today, and then breaking it down to accomplish it. And then now it's an ever-moving scale of redefining impossible.
So you're always redefining it.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're never just standing still. We're either progressing forward through challenges or we're slipping backwards. And we think we're standing still when we're sitting in comfort and complacency, but really we're slipping backwards because we're no longer experiencing growth.
Mm-hmm. And why? Because I think a lot of people think they want this comfort, but I think why does the growth and doing something hard, why does it make life meaningful?
Well, because the purpose of this life is to learn and grow, and we have to do that through challenges and adversity. It doesn't mean we have to fail all the time and be miserable all the time. There's absolute moments of comfort, of happiness, of joy. And to really appreciate those moments of comfort, happiness, and joy, we have to experience trials, adversity, and discomfort. And so I'm not saying like put yourself in uncomfortable situations 24 hours a day, 365 days a year like that. Nobody wants to live that. That's called prison. and so, but it is about looking for opportunities to challenge ourselves. And challenge is uncomfortable sometimes because we can't be the expert at all things at all times. It takes a while to become an expert. And so nobody wakes up the expert. Like anybody that's going to be starting a health journey or let's say you've never done an Ironman and you want to go do one, your journey has to start somewhere. That's called the humble beginning. And nobody starts out as a world champion. Day one, nobody. And you have to continually show up and push yourself, make yourself uncomfortable to the point where you become the resident expert.
Mm-hmm. I heard one time the utility of the fool, or every master was once a beginner.
Absolutely.
You have to try.
Yeah. You have to learn. I mean, every world champion in every sport, every master pianist, every master chess player, they sat down for time at one time in their life. They they read a book and got inspired. They were empowered to go do something. I did a post on my social media today that said, just start. Mm. Just start is what you have to do in order to become an expert or a master at something.
Yeah, it's a presumption of becoming a master. You have to start and make mistakes and to because otherwise you can't. Nobody, as is told, nobody's born a master. But I like your analogy of like always redefine impossible based on where you are at in life. Like if you get injured, you can't have the same ambition like when you were fit and you're in your best shape. So you always have to now, put the bar so it's very challenging, but as challenging as the place you are in, but not like, because it probably have been hard for you after the Ironmans to train, to build yourself up again.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, like for me, I did 100 Ironmans, right? Like I'm not interested in doing 200. the sacrifice I'm not willing to do. The reward isn't there for me. It just doesn't make sense for me. And so I'm going to challenge myself in other aspects of life. And that could be in business ventures or family relations or different things. You don't always have to go bigger and better in one category. And you can become more well-rounded and challenge yourself to become a more balanced individual.
Mm. Yeah, so it's a few areas in life that you can always develop yourself.
Yeah, sure. And you can reach a point where you're totally satisfied. Mm. I'm completely satisfied with that part of my journey. I have no intention of trying to be uncomfortable in that area. I'm getting older, and so I'm now 46, and smaller challenges are now going to continue to push me, and it's about seeking adventure. And And, I had to take a year off and fully recover from the 100, and I'm not in the shape that I was. And so smaller single day challenges are now challenging for me based on where I'm at today. We talked about showing up and being okay with where you're at today and tackle that part of your journey to become better, right? Life is going to be this ebb and flows type of thing. It's not always going to be like this. You've got to come down and then rebuild.
Mm-hmm. And then look closely at the steps while you're progressing and be grateful for those steps, because I think that is what gives us so much to look and see. I was there a month ago, I was there 6 months ago, now I'm here. Based on where you're at, Yeah,
and you have to be honest with yourself with life circumstances and where you're at and what your age is doing and what opportunities are there, what you've done in the past. All these things play into what you're doing right now in the moment and what it looks like. Because what was hard for me in peak fitness is different than what's hard for me coming out of recovery to where I need to rebuild. Mm-hmm. And I need to be conscious of that.
Definitely. What was the hardest thing with conquering 100?
Oh, just the sheer length of it. I mean, it was a quarter of a year and no days off. I mean, you're talking 14,200 plus miles. That's a lot to ask for, to stay physically engaged, to stay mentally sharp, to stay emotionally involved. And so the hardest thing was just the sheer length of time it took to accomplish this. It's not like this was a world record that was like, how many hard-boiled eggs can I eat in 1 minute, right? This was a quarter of a year of a challenge. And I mean, you try to do anything for a quarter of a year consistently, it's very challenging. And now we're talking about 220 kilometers a day, no days off. It's 24 hours a day trying to do the activity, trying to recover, trying to do logistics, it is 24 hours a day nonstop for a quarter of a year. So the answer is the sheer length of the campaign was what made it hard.
And what was it the most challenging, the physical part or the mental part, or what was the most challenging thing about these 100 days?
Yeah, it's interesting because people ask all the time, is a challenge like this more physical or more mental, right? And the answer is you have to be 100% of both, because mentally you can only take your physical body as far or a little bit further than it's prepared to go. And so if I am completely out of shape, I'm morbidly obese, I'm 350 pounds, it doesn't matter how mentally strong I am, I can't drag that body through 220 kilometers a day. It's going to break. And there's limits to that. And so you have to get yourself to a physical level to then where your mental capacity matches it and you can drag it through. So when you hear like a Navy SEAL talk about, hey, look, you have 40% more capacity and you think you're done. That doesn't mean performance. That doesn't mean like, just because I believe I can run a 9.85 100-meter dash, just because I believe it, I have to have the physical ability to do it. And then in the moment, my mind can help me achieve that or even go a little bit faster, right? If I'm trying to run an 8-minute mile and that's where I am physically, it doesn't matter how mentally tough you are. You can't run a 6-minute mile. Physiologically, your body's going to break down and stop you. Now, where I believe the Navy SEALs are talking about your 40% more capacity is, okay, look, in terms of continuing, in terms of enduring, in terms of figuring out how to take the next step. Like when you think you're done, you do have more capacity, but that doesn't mean you can do it at Olympic level, right? At an Olympic athlete's level. Doesn't mean you can do it at a professional athlete's level. Your physicality needs to match your mental giant status. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So it's it's then more about the length, but not the strength. If I can put that in analogy, because
So mentally, you can go further, but not necessarily faster if your body's not willing to, if your body's not able and prepared to do it, right? Like, just because I'm mentally strong doesn't mean I can do what Kipchoge did and run a 2-hour marathon. I mentally cannot pull this body to a 2-hour marathon. I could be the highest ranked monk on the world, the most powerful mental state. I still can't take my body without physical preparation and break a 2-hour marathon. It's not possible. So in order to do these big challenges successfully, you have to prepare physically, and you have to be at a level mentally to where you can now pull that physical body further and deeper into the challenge.
So you have to be a slightly realistic, although you believe in yourself that you can do it. Do you understand me? Like, you believe in yourself, but I can't, no matter how hard I work now, I can't be an NBA player. I know it. I will just never do it. But
it's not good, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're the most mentally tough, like, I'm a 5'8" white Canadian. I don't care how mentally tough I am. I'm not going to be in the NBA going up against Shaquille O'Neal or Antetokounmpo. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, those guys are physical specimens that have a physicality, and then they have learned how to be mentally strong to increase their physicality in business, right? Like, again, Kipchoge, I can't run a 2-hour marathon. No matter how much mental toughness I have, physiologically, my body will break down. I can't process the lactate fast enough because I haven't prepared my body to do that. And he has genetic gifts that allow him to do it. I just can't do it. Like, if I was to jump in the water and swim against Michael Phelps, no matter how much I believed I could, I can't. And I'm not putting limiting beliefs on myself. So it's physically impossible to drag a body that's not ready to perform at that level, even though I'm super mentally tough. It's just not possible. And that goes back to the question: is it more mental, more physical? And it has to be 100% of both. So for me, the challenge became both incredibly mental and physical because I was dealing with injuries, and so I had to be strong enough to manage those injuries, but then I had to be mentally strong enough to manage the pain and keep moving forward despite the pain and discomfort. So again, it was an equal amount of physical and mental challenging in this 100 days.
And I noticed, because I was reading your book, Redefining Impossible, when you took 50 Ironmans over 50 days in 50 states, and I noticed, this book, and I noticed that, when you were giving up and your wife Sunny and you, it was always just about the next step, just waking up, taking the next steps, going on. My experience was that you were never thinking about like too far ahead. You were always just taking the next step. So when you want to give up, it was just a matter of going onto the bike or taking the next step in the marathon or just going into the close or something. So that was my sense when I was reading the book and when I have listened to your podcast.
Yeah, it's so important because, we live in a day and age where we're all super busy. And if we're trying to be successful, in order to be successful, we have a to-do list that's like 1,000 items long, right? And if I woke up this morning and I was like, okay, and I look over at my list and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 100 things that I need to get done. Well, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to get 0 of them done because now I'm panicking. I'm filled with anxiety. I want to bury my head in the sand. I don't want to face anybody. I just can't do it. And so what I did is I woke up and you write a list of the 3 most important things on that list. Like, what's the one thing on my list that's going to get me closer to accomplishing my goal? And so like on the 50, if I was on day 10 and I'm thinking about day 45, it'll cripple me. Like, it would completely break me down. And there was moments where it was just like, okay, we just need to get through the swim so that we can start the bike. And then there was moments where it was like, I just have to figure out how to turn the pedals over one time. Like I can't even, the run can't even exist to me right now because I'm struggling so hard in this moment. But I know, I ask myself this question. If I turn the pedal strokes over one time, am I going to die? Well, no. And so just turn the pedals over one more time. And then you have that realization, oh, well, I can do that again, right? And there's moments on the journey where you're so overwhelmed by your list, like you have to pick one. And then you just like so hyper focus and concentrate on that one very moment. And before you know it, that one pedal stroke has turned into 10,000 pedal strokes and you did it. And you're in that run because on a journey, every single moment of the journey isn't going to be that like impossible grind. Those are moments that come and go. Those are moments that we have to learn how to navigate, how to have that conversation with ourselves, that voice that comes inside of our head that's criticizing us, that's telling us that we're no good. You know, that voice is there. And that's the beautiful thing is as we navigate this journey, it's not always going to be this like constant battle and fight and whatnot. There's going to be moments of happiness and joy and ease. There was days where I floated through the Ironman and I was like, oh, I wish every day could be like that. And then there was moments where I was like, I gotta figure out how to get to that stop sign, right? That's super. And to get to that, and I got to figure out how to take the next step.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think many people ask me, how do you write a book? And you know, when I'm writing a book, I'm never writing a book. I'm just writing one sentence, one word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally,
I'm writing our next book right now. And the first thing we had to do is like come up with a concept. Like you can't write a book without a concept. No. And then once we have the concept, then we had to write out, okay, here's all of our ideas. And we put all of the ideas on a paper. And then now we can start breaking it down and going, okay, I like this one. I like this one. This will work. And then we're like, okay, now we got to write an outline, right? I haven't even started writing the book and we're months into it. I like literally haven't put one word to paper yet. These are all concepts and points that we want to make and, you know, all these things. So, you know, we're 6 months into writing our book, haven't written a chapter yet, but we're doing a lot of work, right? And so to write a book, you have to do the very first step, which is come up with a concept. And in order to achieve something big, the first thing you have to do is come up with a goal or a task or a target that you need to hit. And then reverse engineer that to, again, the one thing that doesn't overwhelm us that's going to get us closer to the finish line.
And then repeat day after day. Yeah.
Rinse and repeat, baby.
Yeah. Why did you do one more than 100?
Yeah. That wasn't planned very far in advance. Early on, like day 15, Casey, who's the wingman that was with me on all the runs, he was like, hey, you know what'd be really cool is if when this whole thing finished, me, you, and Aaron, the other wingman who did all the bikes with me. So there's me, Casey, and Aaron. Casey did the runs, Aaron did the bikes, I did all of it. And Casey was like, hey, it'd be super cool if me, you, and Aaron just on day 100 didn't tell anybody and went out and did it by ourselves. And I was like, no way. Like that, like, because I was at the beginning of that journey where I was like, I had 85 more to go. And by day 15, I was already broken. And so I couldn't even conceptualize doing one more. Well, once we hit like 95, you could see the end of the tunnel. Like the light was there. We were so close to the goal. And the idea got brought up again. And because I told Casey on day 15, I said, if you ever bring that up to me again, I will stab you in your eyeball tonight. And so he didn't bring it up again. And then by day 95, you know, we had, you know, faced all of the adversity and had really come a long way. And we were really close. We were 5 days away. And it's interesting how perception and perspective changes when you're on a journey, because all of a sudden on day 15, the sentence was, I couldn't imagine doing more. But then on day 95, it's like, what's one more, right? So the same, it's the same amount. It was still 101, but on day 15 and on day 95, it's a very different conversation because of where you are on the journey. And so, you know, this is what I do. I travel around the world and I get to share our family story. And I get to tell people and encourage people that even when they're broken, even when they're exhausted, even when you can't even conceptualize on day 15 of doing one more. You can. And sometimes you're going to have to get up and do one more on your own. And I truly believe that as a leader, you lead from the front and you set the best example you know how, because we have no idea when other people are watching. And I've got 5 kids who are watching all the time. And I really wanted to set the best example for these kids that like said, look, they've watched me this entire quarter of a year and know that I'm broken. And then to show them the courage to get up and do one more when you don't have to, I think day 101 had almost the same, if not more impact than the whole 100 days because of the meaning behind it. I didn't have to go out there. The team didn't have to go out there. We were done. We'd accomplished the goal. We had the party. We celebrated, right? People expected us to go home and sleep for 2 weeks. But I believe that in order to try to impact as many people as you can, I thought it was super important in that moment to go and do, like you said, do one more.
And you did impact a lot of people in the journey. Like this amazing story. I was listening to you at the Rich Roll, and it was an amazing story for just people who relate to the suffering, who send you messages, and also people that just have never worked out, have never run, and just starting to run a marathon. And it was just, can you tell me about some story that captured your mind? Mér langaði til að stoppa þáttina aðeins og þakka styrktaraðilum podcastins, en Lavazza og Sumac eru trausti styrktaraðilar ásamt þeim sem ég nefndi í byrjun, ásamt sportvörum og Your Super. Og Lavazza alvöru ítalsk kaffi, hylki sem umhverfisvæn, kolefnisjöfnuð og passa í allar Nespresso-vélar. Og ég búinn að vera að dæla þess í mig, enda mikill kaffikall, og ég mæli eindregið með kaffinu frá Lavazza, enda eru að tala framúrskarandi ítölsk bragðgæði þar. Sumac náttúrulega bara langbesti veitingastæður á Íslandi. Ég búinn að vinna mikið með grillu lambarífunar undanfarið og ásamt því smakka grilluð kjúklingalæri. Fer náttúrulega alltaf í grilla ostursveppi og grillar halloumi líka. Það mjög gott. Ég mæli með hummusin og flatbrauð, og ef þú ert í ekstra góðum gír þá ferðu náttúrulega bara í 7-rétta matseðilinn sem mese og tekur ég vel vínpöru með. Og ef þú vilt bara fagna einhverju, eiga góða stund með vinum eða fjölskyldumeðlimum, eða eiga bara í góðri upplifun í góðum anda sem jákvætt starfsfólk ríkir og góðum matur þá tikkar Sumac í öll þessi box. Og ef þú ert ekki búin að prófa frá Sumac, þá ættir að gera það. Og ég get sagt það að þú verður ekki svikinn, af því að þetta sá allra besti staður sem þú getur farið á ef þú vilt fagna einhverju eða gera vel við þig og þína. Takk kærlega fyrir að hlusta, og ef þið eru í stuði þá með ég fara á YouTube og subscribe á podcast-appinu og gefa mér einhvern og followa mig á Spotify. Annars bara þakka ég ykkur kærlega fyrir að hlusta, af því að án ykkar þá væri engin þáttur, þannig að ég verð alltaf fyrir miklum bara jákvæðum tilfinningum þegar ég hugsa út í það að þið séu að taka tíma frá ykkar degi í að hlusta og horfa mig, og ég virkilega ánægður með það og það heiður fyrir mig, og takk einlega fyrir að gefa ykkur tíma í að hlusta það sem gestirnir og ég höfum að segja. Takk hérlega.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, the girl Sonia that connected us is from Iceland. And it was. I mean, I've never heard of her. And, I mean, she lives in Iceland, and I live in the United States, and I'm from Canada. And social media has opened up the world to everybody, and has really connected us in it could be a very positive way. And so she had done a post and tagged me in it, and I commented and sent her a message because she had gone through something very challenging right before we did the Conquer 100, and it was life-threatening, and she was going through some very intense rehabilitation to get her life back. And our team's willingness to suffer intentionally gave her courage and hope on her journey to show up. And she was like, if he can show up and do one more, I can really attack my therapy. And she defied the doctor's recommendations, and she recovered so much faster. They said she would never do XYZ, and she's racing again. And it was just really, really cool. And I mean, it's the reason we're talking today. And I'm coming to Iceland. I mean, we're going to do an event, a big speaking event at the main theater right there in town. And so if everyone's able to come check that out. It's going to be awesome. But I mean, it's just stories like that. And we're now connected globally. But like I said, it's our team's willingness to suffer intentionally that's giving people hope on their journey where she didn't choose this, right? She didn't choose that suffering. But it's so humbling to realize that people around the world are watching, and are pulling strength from our story. And it's impacting their ability to show up on their journey and overcome the challenges that they're facing.
I get goosebumps because, you said lead by example. And, I think everything you do matters. Everything you do, because I think we're so connected. I mean, if you improve yourself, or if you show how you can be courage in the middle of suffering, you are going to affect people around you, your friends, your family members, your co-workers, and they are going to affect their family members, their friends, their co-workers. Now we are connected through the internet, and so I think the influence that each and every one of us do each day has a lot more effect than we think, a spiraling effect.
Yeah, it's insane because we only know of the handful of people that have reached out to us and told us their story. And then, I mean, so we impacted Sonia, and then how many people has she gone on to impact that we don't have any idea about? And then that just continues to go generation after generation. And like, this is my challenge to everybody is show up in your life every single day like you're the main character of a movie. And that everybody's watching, and to live your life in a way that you leave a legacy for generations to gain strength from your story. And that should be everybody's goal, is to show up every single day like you're trying to leave a legacy for others to follow.
Mm-hmm. And we love this redemption element in the stories, and people are much stronger than they think, much more resilient.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned on the world, is that, like, as humans, we're getting in our own way, and we're toughest on ourselves, and we're our biggest critics, and we're stopping ourselves from all the potential and from achieving big things. And that's why we do what we do. I just want to show people that, like, potential is limitless. Now, you can't go from 0 to 100. There was a decade that if you just saw the headline Conquer 100, that it wouldn't make very much sense. And people understand where you're at today, set those big goals, but hit all those benchmarks along the way so that you can get to that destination. And we really need to respect the enormity of the goals that we set and really take our time to get there so that we achieve it. Because as soon as we start to make too many mistakes, as soon as we start to fail too often, well, now it really becomes a mental game, and we start to believe that we're a failure. And we need to start having and creating success and creating momentum, because then you can start to, success breeds success, confidence breeds confidence. Now, as you start to have these small wins, we can start to accumulate that big time momentum.
So do you think behavior has a more effect on beliefs than beliefs on behavior?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it's both.
Yeah.
It's absolutely both. It's not, you can't just have one or the other. It's both. Dude, I need to write that down. That's a question I'm going to pose that to my social media. What did you say again?
Does belief control behavior, or behavior control belief? Does belief affect behavior more, or behavior affect belief more?
Does behavior affect belief, or does belief affect behavior?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking a lot, because I know you are starting the Grit podcast show, And if one word defines you, then it's probably grit, among many others. But I've actually studied the grit a lot and looked at the literature, the psychology literature of grit. And they are looking at growth mindset and grit. And growth mindset is just believing that you can improve. And these studies are showing that like grit predicts growth mindset more strongly than growth mindset predicts grit. So it's actually
does grit mean action?
Yeah. So what I'm referring to is like when you take these steps, these as you told, these small steps, and you see that you can win them, you can win those small steps, then you start to believe, what else can I do? And what else steps can I take?
Okay, so I'm going to answer your question this way.
Yeah.
It goes back and forth. It has to start with one. So you have to have the belief, and then you have to take action. That action successfully done adds to that belief, which allows you to take more action. And so I believe it's going to go back and forth between belief and grit or action until you can continue to go, because you have to start with one. So let's start with belief. Okay, I believe I can do X. Okay, well, now I have to take the first step in order to achieve X. And so I go do that. And because I did it, my belief changed. And now I go back to my belief, and it allowed me to take a bigger action. And so they go hand in hand, but I believe they don't happen at the same time. It's going to go like this.
Positive feedback loop.
Yes.
I love it. So what book has influenced you the most in life, and what did you learn from the book?
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I think it's a super powerful book because, again, we've been talking about hope, and that's a book about hope. And you know, he studied the people in the concentration camps, and he could tell the moment they lost hope because they died. And so to that means if you lose hope, you die. That would mean that hope is life. And so how important is that in lesson to have? So I believe in order to be successful, you have to have hope, gratitude, and then take action.
And that was, Viktor had hope and he had purpose in the middle of suffering. He was grateful for, or he noticed the beauty in the environment and the surroundings. And also he taught us the ultimate responsibility, which is like between stimulus and response, there's a space where you can choose your own response.
Yep, exactly. It's crazy because, you know, we're in a day and age where everybody's like, oh, this, you know, I got dealt a rock hard in life, or this happened to me, and so that means I can't do this. And I'm like, no, stop. You get to choose how you react to that situation. And life's happening to all of us. And sometimes it's happening worse for someone here or someone there, but we all go through our own very difficult challenges. And we get to choose how we react to something that someone says to me or something that somebody does to me. Like, say something really rude to me in Icelandic.
James, þú ert hálfviti.
Right. That means nothing to me because I didn't understand what you said, right? The same thing in English, I could have been like all pissed off. So that proves right there that we give meaning and power to just words that you say. Like, you didn't offend me right there, but it was probably offensive, right? But you didn't offend me because I have no idea what you said. And that just goes to show that we give power to the words that somebody else says. That was my choice to choose how I react to what you said to me. I choose to not care because I don't even know what you said.
Do you want to know it?
No, I don't care.
I like it. Yeah, definitely. It's one of my favorite book as well. Definitely.
Okay, what'd you say?
It's my favorite book. Yeah, what did I say?
No,
was James, you're an idiot.
Okay, yeah. But even when you say it in English, I choose not to be offended because I know I'm not an idiot, and that's just your opinion and the lens that you're seeing it through, right? Now, there's some cases where I should take a minute and go, okay, Why do you think I'm an idiot? Right? Just for a second, only if I care. Like if you're someone that I like really respected, or like someone I love and I'm on a journey with, I maybe want to dive a little bit into that, because now it's an opportunity for me to self-reflect and maybe change what I'm doing. Sometimes there's truth in it, but not often. But there again is my choice to now take that feedback and do a self-analysis and go, no, I'm not an idiot. That's just his perception of who I am. Or like, oh yeah, I was an idiot in that moment. I should probably like work on that and be better. And that helped me grow, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, it was my choice on how I perceived it. But when you said it in Icelandic, I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, so I don't care.
Yeah, but it's such a good point for taking feedback, because you can look at feedback and you can't just admit, I could have done this better, but I'm not agreeing on this. And it depends how kind of feedback it is and where it comes from. But you can look at it without being like too attached to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people give too much power to other people's words, to the actions they say, and they lack an incredible amount of conviction and belief in themselves. And it's funny because when I sign a lot of my books, I'll sign it "Believe in You," because I think that's so important. You have to believe in yourself on your journey before anybody else will believe in you. If I had believed what everybody was telling me, I would have never done the 50. But I believed in my team. I believed we had an opportunity to do it. And because we did it, it now opened up the realm of possibility to do 100, right? Mm-hmm. And again, even though we did 50, they said, well, 100's impossible. You can't do it. And I was like, well, I believe we can do it. So it doesn't. The only person that it matters if they believe they can do it is the person doing it. Everybody else's opinion is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. And you are usually right if you don't believe it or you believe it.
Yes. Yeah. If you don't believe you can do it, you're right. If you believe you can do it and you do it, you're right.
Definitely. What do people often get wrong about you? What do people tend to think of you that's not quite right?
I think when people first hear about our journey, they're like, oh, this guy's rich and single. Like, I got 5 kids and we don't have a lot of money. People think, oh, you're super wealthy because of the things you do and you raise money for charity and you pockets. And I'm like, no, we give all the money to charity and we've got 5 kids and we manage a very busy household. And they also believe that I'm genetically gifted, that I have some unique ability to do these challenges. And the reality is no, it was foundationally built over a long period of time. And I continually built on those blocks to become who I am and what we do today. And so I think those are some common misconceptions about who we are.
Mm. Then people think you have this kind of talent, but not like you're not referring to the hard work you've done all the past through the recent year. Because, I mean, you began to running when you were like 28 years old, 8 years old?
Yeah, in my 20s.
Yeah.
In my first Ironman, I was 32.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, my first Ironman, I was 32, and then we broke the first world record we did the 50 when I was 39. We did the 100 when I was 45. Like, I'm only getting older, and I'm doing harder and more impossible things. And it's only because we've continued to evolve the challenges and learned and grown from the mistakes that we've made.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And also because you played golf and you were wrestling as well.
Yeah, I grew up a wrestler, and then I played a lot of golf.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. I still play golf now. I don't really wrestle. But those are my 2 hobbies: is triathlon and golf, or fitness and golf, and family. And
what I wanted to talk about with you about was like, I think you can develop passion rather than you discover it, you know.
Well, okay, so I think you just that's a tough one too.
Okay.
So my answer would be is like, people, you have to discover it by doing it. And and then it can evolve into a greater passion.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake people are doing is they're sitting at home on their phones, watching other people going, oh, well, I don't know what my passion is. And I'm like, you ain't never going to find your passion if you're sitting at home by yourself doing nothing. Like, I didn't know I loved wrestling until I wrestled. And I didn't love it the first time because I got the ass beat out of me. Like I got the crap beat out of me. But then I continued to show up, and I cultivated a passion for it, and I loved it. And then, I mean, nobody starts out a great golfer. Like, it's terrible, but then you start to develop that passion and you start to get good at that craft, and now it's a real passion. But I didn't know I had a passion for golf until I started to do it. And same thing with triathlon. I wasn't a great triathlete when I started. I didn't even know how to swim. How could I possibly know that I was passionate about triathlon if I'm sitting at myself, not jumping into the water, trying to figure it out?
Yeah. It was the complete, what I meant by discovering and developing. Like discovering, I was meaning like you sitting at home and waiting until something grips you instead of just going and developing it.
Yeah.
So
then I agree with you.
Yeah. What did you once believe, but today you believe differently? Is there something you needed to relearn?
There's no such thing as motivation. It is about I used to believe that like you could motivate someone to go do something, and you can't. You have to empower them so that they take action to do something, and that's something that they have to do for themselves. And back to your other question, what people think about me that's not true is like that I'm super motivated and I love getting up at 4 a.m. to go work out. Like, and I believe now that like it's not about being motivated, it's about being disciplined and consistent. And right now, after taking a year off from the 100, I've been removed from being disciplined and consistent. And I'm kind of walking around trying to figure out what to do next, right? Because I don't want to do 200 Ironmans. That's not what's next. I don't have a passion anymore for doing Ironman races. And so it's like I have to figure out now, I have to relearn what a new passion is. And then I have to relearn how to be disciplined and consistent in order to be successful at whatever's next.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with what you told about like you can't motivate other people because you can't. It made my life very easy when I figured out you can't change people.
No. Yep. I no longer try to convince anybody to do anything. And if someone comes to me craving knowledge, craving something from experience that we have, then I will share that with you. But that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to share my knowledge with you. You then have to take that knowledge and apply it in your life to do something with. And I can't make you do that. I'm not going to force you to do that. But good on you for taking the first steps and asking. But I'm not going out there trying to find people that don't even want to change, that are filled with excuses and entitlement. Like I don't have any energy for you, like zero.
I agree on that. Amen to that. And what you are saying with the motivation is like motivation just comes and goes, but like discipline and these steps each day, the hard work and doing something each day, that you just do it. You're not always motivated to go to training or eating healthy. You do it, and the consistency beats motivation.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's a very good point. What advice have you received in relation to your expertise that is so great that you want to share it with us, or so awful that you need to warn us from it?
So awful. I heard someone say one time that the hardest thing to do isn't just to start, and I disagree with that, because motion creates emotion. And the world is sitting around not starting, and your mind really starts to play tricks on you. I believe once you start, you create momentum that'll propel you to keep going. And so when I heard that person say, don't pat yourself on the back for starting. And I'm like, no, yes, pat yourself on the back for starting. Like, I think that's an incredible thing to do. And he was just like, that's so elementary. And I'm like, he's forgetting where he came from and that he had trouble starting one day. He's in a phase of momentum and growth. And he's numb to the current culture that's out there, that they are paralyzed and having a hard time starting. And so I think that's some really terrible advice that I heard someone say, like, to not be proud of yourself for starting, that starting isn't hard at all. Yes, starting is hard because as humans, we have imposter syndrome. We doubt ourselves. We're our toughest critics. So yeah, I will go on record and congratulate those people who had enough courage to shed their old version and start on a new journey. That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, and to go on the adventure without knowing what will happen, or without knowing you have to have it all figured out. And again, the flip side of that to having the courage to start is, like my post today, just start. That's the best advice that I've been given, is because you're not going to learn the things you know in the planning process, because you can't plan for scenarios you don't know exist. And on your journey, you're going to need to be introduced to partners and associates and mentors along the way. Well, I wasn't introduced to the mentor that I needed to get through X, Y, and Z because I wasn't ready or deep enough into my journey. And so you have to just start and start figuring things out, because that's the only way that you're going to know steps you need to do based on situations that are happening to you that you can't plan for. And so the best advice that someone gave me was like, look, you're not ready, but you should just start, because you will never be ready. It's like I laugh when people are like, oh, I'm waiting to have a baby until I'm ready. And I'm like, you're never going to be ready to have a baby. And I'm always like, hey, the good news is when a baby comes out, all it does is cries, poops, and eats. And you know how to do all three of those things, especially if you're a woman. And then you grow in your parenting as your child grows and does things. He or she's not driving on day number one. You don't have to teach them how to do that. They're not doing all of these things when they're a baby. They're doing those three things. And then you learn and grow as you do it. You'll never be ready to do anything. You just have to start. Yeah, it's such a good point. And as well as people, often young people especially, don't know where they're going in life. They don't have a vision. And they want to know exactly where they should go or where they should be at after 3 years or 5 years. But just pick something. Have a blurry vision. Go do something. And then when you go and achieve those small steps, you will see, this is for me. I will want to do more of this. And this is not for me. I don't want to do this. And then you expand yourself and your vision gets clearer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But everybody, again, is sitting at home. I think the pandemic was so bad for people because it just forced everybody to sit home in isolation. And now, again, everybody's having a hard time starting back up, firing their engines back up to go do things. So really, if anybody's listening to this podcast and this conversation and you're going to take one thing from this, it would be like, just say F it and go do something. And you're going to have an experience, because trust me, the way you're feeling right now is because you're sitting at home focusing on what's miserable, what's bad, what's not good in your life. If you go out and you start to have experiences, guess what? You may meet a person. You may now have an experience with that person, and you're going to be doing things because, like I said earlier, motion creates emotion. Motion is moving. Moving will stimulate something, which will give you an emotion to let you know I like this or I don't like this. And then if you continue that process of creating motion and doing activities, you're going to find your passion. That's it, everybody. That's how you find your passion. You go do shit.
Yeah, go do shit. I like that. What is your favorite quote and why?
Oh, okay, this is a quote that I like. It's The secret to success is doing a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. Now, it's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it is the secret to success. And we've talked about it on this conversation. It's about doing those little incremental things. But that's truly the secret.
And I want to ask you one question, because we're talking about these little steps, and often people wait until they arrive at the destination. So what was, when you look back at the Conquer 100, was it the journey or the destination that gave you more?
It's always the journey. And having been on a journey and doing this type of stuff for close to 15 years, I now wish that I had even slowed down a little bit more, and taken my time and looked around and conversed with more people instead of being so focused on getting to the destination. Because, and I experience it every single time that I get to the destination. I'm like, oh, it was more about the excitement about the journey, the hustle, the grind, the people. It's like, what's more exciting, the week leading up to Christmas or Christmas afternoon? Right?
Yeah.
What's more exciting, the plane ride to Disneyland or Disneyland? Like, it's the anticipation, it's the journey, it's getting there, right? And then you get there and you're like, oh, this was better, but in my head when I was drawing it up, and while I was experiencing it, it was better, right? And so it's about the journey and the people that you meet along the way and the relationships that you can cultivate and things like that.
So I think it's like, go do hard stuff, have a vision for your life, but focus at each step at a time.
Yeah, be present.
Yeah, be present.
This is a great quote. How does it go? Oh my gosh, I say it all the time. There's only one time that's important, and the time is now. And it's the most important time because it's the only time when we have any power. Right? Past is a memory. The future hasn't happened yet. Right now is the most important time. It's like you said before we started recording, you were like, it's a beautiful night outside, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but having a conversation with you. That was an example of being present in the moment, not thinking about the beautiful evening or hanging out with your friends, like giving this moment the attention that it deserves and having this experience.
Mm-hmm. And just getting all out of this experience by being present and mindful. And I think that constitutes for our greatest well-being. You know, it's not always what to do, but are you present in what you are doing?
Yeah, and tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Damn straight.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So if you're worried about tomorrow and not experiencing today, what are you doing?
It's a bit dramatic, but sometimes I remind myself it's the last time I'm going to do something. Like now, it's the last time I will take up this kind of podcast episode with the Iron Cowboy, with James. Last time.
Last time.
Hopefully I will meet you someday in the future, but it's the last time I will talk to you again.
Are you not coming to the event?
Yeah, I'm definitely. We should have some dinner and something with Sonia as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
She's planning out the whole schedule. So I'll meet you. I'll meet you in July.
I love it. The last question. If you could only deliver one message to the world throughout your life, what would the message be?
To believe in yourself, and to have that hope that we've talked about, and to try to do everything to help everybody around you. And at the end of the day, that's how you win. That's how you win.
By fulfilling your potential and assisting, having positive influence on other people as well in the world.
Yeah, everybody always asks me what's next. Like, am I going to do 150, 200? I'm like, no, I'm going to help other people achieve their version of impossible. That's what I want to do.
That's an amazing mission.
Mm.
And I'm just looking forward following you in that mission. So, James, I think it's just a great finishing words of this podcast. So it's been just thank you for giving you the time to talk, and thank you for the individual and the character you provide to the world, and thank you for the positive influence you provide to the world. And you're coming to Iceland in holding an event in the beginning of August in Harpa.
Yep.
So I will put the link to the event in the show notes, and I'm looking so much forward to it, and I can't wait to meet you in person. So just
I want to see everybody in Iceland there. I want to meet all of you.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. But if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Iron Cowboy James, and our website is ironcowboy.com. And like you said, we're going to be doing an event there. What's the city name?
Reykjavik.
Yeah. And what's the name of the theater?
Harpa.
Yep, that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so we'll be, check out the show notes below. We'll put the link in there, and then hopefully I get to meet all of you. It's going to be an amazing time. The weather, I know the weather is going to be great. We're going to have a good time. We're going to eat some good. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to sign some books. We're going to do a whole presentation. It's going to be awesome. So we'll see you guys there.
Definitely. I encourage all of your listeners to go and see and listen to the wisdom of James. So, and just, definitely. It will be a great night, and I'm looking so much forward to it. So I encourage you all to schedule the event and arrive to Harpa. So okay. James, are we just good, or any closing words?
Nope, that's it, man. We'll see you guys soon.
Yeah. Thank you, James, and good luck, and I hope looking forward to see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mér finnst það svo ótrúlega mikilvægt.
Legðu þitt að mörgum til að gera